speakers. I'd like to introduce Jay Jobanputra and Vishal Jobanputra. Jay, come up. Nice introduction to you guys. I'll just give you the background. Jay's career spans over 20 years in risk management consulting within the investment banking sector. He is currently at the Bank of England delivering systemic risk analytics capability to support the newly formed FPC committee. His passion for maths and education led him to set up JD Booster Maths, a social enterprise in delivering and inspiring confidence in maths for 11 to 15-year-olds. Throughout the 2-year history of the CMS Hindu network, Jay has been one of our biggest and most important mentors. The younger generation always invite him to our socials because he understands the younger generation. Vishal Jobanputra, his son, works for RBS, and we've invited them both here today to speak about how to pass cultural values to future generations. Please extend a warm welcome to Jay and Vishal.
Thank you very much. Jessica to everybody. It's been a very interesting evening, lots of very interesting talks. Hopefully you enjoy what I have to say. Mine is a bit more on the practical side, so I just want to share my grey hair or lack of hair in bringing up children. I know that we all intend to do really well for the world at a larger sort of scale, but at the end of the day, it all starts from the family. If you've got the family right, if you're devoting enough time within the family, then you're rest assured that whatever you intend to do will carry on. So it's like Dhruv often says that a candle can light another 1,000 candles. And I think what I think I've done for Vishal. So what does it mean? A lot of you guys here are working, you're professionals. And they say that to become a professional or to acquire any particular skill, you need 10,000 hours of dedication. Vishal is just turned 20 or 21, so 10,000 hours of parental input is required in drawing some value into your child. So if you divide the 20 years, you're looking at something like 500 hours per annum, which is 10 hours a week. Tall order, given that they have to go to school, you have to live your life, you have to go to work, everything, but you require something like 10 hours of instilling values, and you've got to start very early. It's no point saying that I'll do it later on, when he's 10-year-old, 20-year-old. It all has to start from the ground, and he has to carry on. Like a lot of professionals here, even after the 10,000 hours when he's 21, we all are familiar with CPD, which is continuing professional development. That's where you have to leave it up to them. But they can only follow something if you've instilled the right values. Okay? So parents, what I noticed, and I live in sort of northwest area, is that they devote a lot of time on choosing the right school, making sure that he becomes a musician, making sure he becomes a sportsman, making sure that he's top of everything. But a lot of them are so busy in this life that they forget one thing, which is the education of life. Do they know how to live? A lot of things that Dr. Rohan has said. How do you allow time for yourself? How do you put your mind and body in harmony? All that is education of life, yeah? And it has to be given to them. And it's no point just preaching. You have to practice it for them to see it in your household so that they have the ability or the opportunity of doing it. So I think it's all about balancing, but I think a lot of parents are swayed one way, forgetting the education of life. A lot of parents also say that, oh, that's done. How do you do it? Oh, we outsource it. So what do you mean outsource it? Well, we send him to Hare Krishna, Swaminarayan. And they pick it up there. Oh, what about you? Oh, well, we're too busy. Yeah? But we send the children out there. I think outsourcing doesn't work. Yeah. You have to build it into your life for your children to feel comfortable doing it. So there's no outsourcing. The other way, sometimes what happens is that it backfires. You outsource, so they start living a different life to yours, they start finding different values, and then when they're about 16, 17, the parents have a worried look. Oh my God, this is not what I expected. So, there is problem with outsourcing. So the idea, as I said, is all about balancing. We live in a Western country. We are aspiring then to be professional, like all of you here. So you can't just live a one-dimensional life. So it has to be balanced. It has to be interesting for them as well. So what I have tried to do is give them the best of everything that we can from the kind of the Western perspective, but also in terms of our core values. So how do you bring in the core values? How do you bring in the balance? So I'd like to just sort of cast out a few things that we do regularly, and I hope that in time to come, for the younger lot, when you have children, you instill some of these things. So we have things like regular Hanuman Chalisa. We go to the temple on a regular basis for Aarti. When we have birthdays at home, we celebrate over bhajans. It's not all about getting the best cake, but it's those sort of things which, if they've done that from a very young age, it's not uncool. So that's the sort of thing that you do. I took Vishal to India when he was 2 years old, and although I was born in Africa, I didn't have much to do with India, but I enjoy the social aspects in every way. I took Vishal and I said, I missed out not growing up with attachment to India, but I certainly want Vishal to have it. So since age 2, we have been going to India almost every year, if not every alternate year. So whilst they were growing up, we were comparing notes with other parents, and the other parents had all these destination holidays, Caribbean, all in one, Florida, 6 times to Disney World, which is fine. So, they have been there, they've done that, but we made a point that you've got to do like a checkpoint, so every year go to India. Yeah, so we hear a lot of parents say, oh yeah, we take them to India. What do? Oh, we stay in the Marriott, Juhu, we go to Santa Cruz shopping, and we come back. That's one side of the India, as you rightly say, the glitz, the Bollywood. But there is the other India as well. So again, even when we went to India, we balance it. We always start with Gujarat, then yes, we give them a bit of excitement or a bit of other exposure, and we come back. So this thing about balancing has to be there all the time if you're being responsible parents, I think. So that's how we started India. And then when he got to sort of teenage life, we took time out. We wrote to the school saying that I'd like to take Vishal out for 3 weeks, and we're doing it for this reason. And the reason was that I wanted to take him and make him work with the slum children in Bombay. So we worked 3 weeks in Bombay with the slum children, and we didn't stay in the Marriott at that time. We stayed in a very basic hotel, and we spent the entire day working with the slum children. One very quick, simple example of what you said. We had a 12-year-old, and we were just asking, what's your name? He said, Ali. And I said, where do you live? Oh, we live just in this, what they call chol. How many in your family? 14 people. How many rooms? 2. Say, yeah. And they come to the, this was part of Akanksha, which you probably know about. So Akanksha runs this like after school activity. So he'd been to the school, and I said, oh, what time did you get up? He said 6:30 in the morning. I had my breakfast, and I was looking at my watch, and it was 4 o'clock. I said, "Oh, so when do you go home?" He said, "From here I go home." All day from 6:30 to 4 p.m. he had not eaten or drunk anything, and that was just a normal day for him. Yeah. So I think when you see those sort of things firsthand, and Vishal gets to see them, it speaks volume. There's no way that you can ever read that out to people. They've got to experience it. So he's been lucky to get that. And then we have Diwali rituals, we have extended family, we've devoted a lot of time in creating this extended family. That's another observation I make. We have houses to go to during Diwali. We've done that since they were very young. Some of our contemporary friends, they don't even meet their cousins, not even on a Diwali day. So living has become very atomic as opposed to what we can do, very molecular, interconnected, and I think we should all do that. So that's the sort of thing where you provide the balance and you are always constantly aware of trying to instill some value system in them. So that's what it is. I'd like to, before I hand over to Vishal, there's something that I came up with, or I came across. It's called fragmented individuals, or individualism. It's a person who tries to make it in a society. So we're in this society, the Western society. If you live in, as you said, Bishop's Avenue, that's a society as well. So a person who tries to make it in a society in order to succeed, in order to feel that he or she has achieved, what happens is that he becomes the imitation of that society. He dresses like that person, he talks like that, he thinks like that, he expresses value like that. Almost hiding or in denial of the self, who you really truly are, as though it's shameful. So what happens with this is that you're alienating yourself from the strength of your culture, your values, whatever they are. I'm not saying there is this particular set, but be very mindful. And the reason I'm sharing this is that I have seen this happen amongst the children and then into adulthood. You alienate yourself. So how do you overcome this? Or rather, why you will be alienated? Because you're not fully accepting that it's in your DNA. You're born a Hindu, a Muslim, you're born in a certain way. Don't try and imitate society to be accepted into a society. Stop trying to imitate. Study your positive values. Then that will give you the confidence. And with that confidence, you will be a much happier person, more balanced person, and you're not forever trying to imitate the latest, whatever that trend is. So this thing was discovered or found during the 60s and 70s in South America, where there was a lot of desegregation amongst the blacks. And constantly the blacks were trying to imitate the white. But what they then found was that wasn't the right way. The blacks started to think about black power. What was the positive things that blacks had? And they never started to imitate the whites. So that's something I'd like to leave you with.